Ooh. So you guys are probably familiar with this carcinogenic water beverage that we call in America pop, soda, or Coke. And I'm just wondering, when did soda become so popular that it literally is everywhere now? Movies, parties, advertisements on the billboard. It's everywhere. So, carbonated water actually occurs naturally. There's lava under the Earth's crust, as we all know, and this lava actually emits a little bit of carbon dioxide, and it puts it in little pockets of water that lead up to little springs, making carbonated springs. In the early 17th and 18th century, people thought that these springs gave like magic, like life, like hot springs, like thought it was like the fountain of youth. And rich aristocrats wanted to escape their poor Victorian towns full of disease, and they would go to spas built around these carbonated springs. And what did they drink at these carbonated springs? Carbonated water. Naturally occurring carbonated water. This trend grew, and, middle-class people wanted to be just like the rich people, as they tend to do. And people were like, we need to sell this. We need to sell this stuff. In 1783, John Jacob Swett invented kind of this soda water, and he sold it. It was the first soda water to really ever be sold. He sold it in these weird kind of funky shaped bottles, and they did this because that was the only way that it would stay carbonated, because they weren't, the best at carbonating things at the time. And most of the time when people bought this stuff, it would be flat by the time they got it, or by the time they got home, it was flat. Spring water, carbonated spring water, has a lot of minerals in it. It's also called mineral water. It's kind of healthier. It has, calcium and magnesium and other things that are good for the human body. So it was commonly sold in drugstores. In the 1830s, a guy named John Matthews invented a tabletop version to carbonate water on the spot. So you wouldn't go home with it flat. You would use the Matthews soda fountain, and a drugstore owner would make a bunch of carbonated water there on the spot. Fresh carbonated water. And at the time, this was a big deal. And this is where the association between sodas and drugstores kind of go like this now, because of this marketing event that happened in the early 1800s. So these drugstore owners were kind of like, bro, this carbonated water tastes like buns. So what did these drugstore owners do? They added lemon juice, licorice root, sassafras root, sometimes ginger. Some of the oldest sodas, such as root beer and ginger ale, come from these roots. Early root beer was probably made of sarsaparilla, sassafras, and licorice, and it was kind of like a tri-melody of all these three roots. Sarsaparilla kind of being its own drink sometimes. So early pharmacists start just throwing stuff in carbonated water with some sugar, and this is what really started soda as we know it. This is where the heavy hitters in the soda community are coming out of. Looking at one of the big sodas that are very popular today, Dr. Pepper. Dr. Pepper is a carbonated drink created by a pharmacist in the 1880s. His name is Charles Alderton or something, I'm pretty sure. We're going to go with Charles Alderton. It was first served in his little pharmacy in the 1880s, 1885, and then it was displayed at the World Fair in St. Louis, Missouri, where people kind of really loved it. One interesting thing about Dr. Pepper that I kind of was looking at, the FDA does not classify it as a cola, nor does it classify it as a fruit-flavored drink, nor does it classify it as a root beer. Dr. Pepper is in its own category called pepper sodas. This is such a unique flavor. Shout out Charles, his 23 flavors. It's not even ranked normally. It's its own thing. The flavor, the story isn't really it's kind of like you can tell that a lot of these stories of the origin of the name are kind of messed up, saying it was named after a real doctor. It was not. Charles probably named it Dr. Pepper because of the association with the pharmacy. The flavor it was said to mimic the smell of his pharmacy and what it smelled like. Charles Alderton said he liked how all the spices mixed together when he walked into his little pharmacy place. You know, they got the licorice, they got the nutmeg, they got the cola nuts, they got... Sorry, guys, this soda's getting to me. So we all know the French love the wine. Bonjour. Voulez-vous coucher avec moi? There was a famous wine that, you know, Thomas Edison and a lot of famous authors credited for their good ideas called Vin Mariani. We're going to go with Vin Mariani. Vin Mariani. That was what it was called. It was called Vin Mariani. Image right here. They credited this wine for a lot of their great ideas and being able to stay up all night. That was because it was full of cocaine. Cocaine and alcohol. All in one. Party in one bottle. This guy named John Pemberton came along who lived in Georgia. And liquor was illegal in Georgia at the time. He also had a morphine addiction. So he made this drink. He made this concoction that was pretty much Vin Mariani, except he cut out the liquor and added a shit ton of cocaine, caffeine, and sugar. So just minus the alcohol, add sugar and caffeine. Coca-Cola is born. Now, a lot of soda brands, like Pepsi, it's called Pepsi because it was thought to cure dyspepsia. Ginger ale does whatever ginger does, helps your little tummy or whatever the nurse is giving you ginger ale for. Coca-Cola was used to get Civil War soldiers not addicted to morphine anymore because they were now addicted to lovely cocaine. And a lot of people realized that a lot of these sodas weren't really just like medicine. You could just drink them to enjoy them. And another thing that happened was, you know, Prohibition. They were making alcohol legal. Soda skyrockets and becomes so popular that at one point, Americans were drinking 3 gallons a year. He also, the cola comes from the cola nuts, which put caffeine in it. That's why it's called Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola has kind of got thrown around by a few different owners. But one of the most notable owners is Asa Candler. If you took a history class, you might know his name. He did a lot of things. Asa Candler took the cocaine out of cola because it was, you know, people were kind of realizing it was pretty toxic and they probably shouldn't do that. He also upped the marketing. They were putting Coca-Cola on everything. Candles, calendars, little rolling trays that I've got my hands on. Drink a bottle of carbonated, the most refreshing drink in the world. 5 cents. Originally, Coca-Cola was 5 cents a bottle. Coca-Cola now is seen as kind of a symbol of capitalism. I don't think humans have really ever made an invention so quite famous as Coca-Cola. It is a worldwide, universal drink that a lot of people enjoy. During the Cold War, it was seen as a symbol of American freedom and capitalism. I don't think anything has ever matched the famousness of Coca-Cola. Guys, one soda I didn't talk about was Mountain Dew. It's called Mountain Dew because that was slang for moonshine. This was used to flavor moonshine back in the heyday. I'm never drinking Mountain Dew. Let's give it a taste. It's not the worst. Kind of got a Sprite thing going on. Now, this is a pretty just light history of soda. I'm going to leave a few videos in the description where I got some of my sources and inspiration. Check those out. Get kind of deeper in this stuff. Learn some things. But anyways, guys. Cheers. Don't drink this shit, guys. Don't drink this. It's not good for you. It is. This causes cancer. But it tastes good.